8 furious reasons to watch The Fate of the Furious.
Let me do the Rock eyebrow thing. Nope. The Fast and Furious franchise started way back in 2001 with your typical action car anti-hero formula. So much so that the original is often compared to the phenomenal Point Blank. The original, of course, not that sorry excuse we have for a remake now. The first Furious film stands up to other fuel-induced automobile action films like Gone in 60 Seconds and Days of Thunder, and it sits comfortably for the most part as the best of the bunch in the franchise. Which is also possibly why Too Fast and Too Furious is widely thought of as the worst of the bunch.
It's time for the week to go home. Do it fast, do it furious.
However, Tokyo Drift introduced new players to the growing team and took the franchise to a very different level.
When you drift, if you ain't out of control, you ain't in control.
It had an original feeling, almost rebooting the franchise. It stands alone as another great film like the original Fast film had done. If it wasn't for Vin Diesel appearing in the last few minutes, it could have done just that. That being said, adding Tokyo Drift to the mix meant that this high-octane series now had something to say.
It gave the series a much-needed boost, which the director Justin Lin did with great skill. From there, the series continued to add new characters. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who plays Hobbs, Jason Statham, who plays Deckard, Kurt Russell, Mr. Nobody, to name but a few. The driving force, excuse the pun, after the pretty cars has always been family. Right from the outset, Vin Diesel's character Dominic Toretto has always stated that family comes first.
I don't have friends, I got family.
No matter the cost. Which is all very well, but what about the collateral damage in these films?
Yeah. Through all 8 films, or 10, depending on whether you count the 2 shorts, the damage to buildings, cars, cities, planes, skyscrapers, and people has been pretty impressive. And not in a good way, but rather in a Michael Bay kind of way. I think if you added up the collateral body count of all 8 films, you could fill a small cemetery. So although the general theme of the Furious film says, family first, in amongst the wreckage of bent metal and fuel-soaked roads, we can't help but wonder if perhaps it's actually saying, my family first. Sorry about yours.
Yeah. But then again, is that any different from the Marvel franchise?
Well, yeah.
Well, maybe, because Iron Man has a cleanup crew, or the DC film franchise, Batman vs. Martha, or any other massive scale franchise. And after the recent feud between Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Vin the Diesel, it seems that may be a story, which is fine, I guess, because that's why we call it acting, right?
Yeah. But putting the damage aside, off-screen and on-screen, these films are actually quite enjoyable. The journey that this franchise has gone through is nothing short of miraculous. Kind of like the Harry Potter films, it seems that the actors and the story have transitioned from just another action film festooned with scantily clad girls to something that has allowed the latest film to have some real substance to it.
I think I need to remind you why you chose to be here.
I got no choice!
Okay, the Barry Snotter films didn't have naked chicks in them, but if you compare the first films to the last few, then I think we'd all agree that they learned a lot along the way. And the same thing has happened here for the Furians. The story and the actors have seemingly morphed into something quite good. And this leads us to The Fate of the Furious and the 8 reasons why you should watch it.
Starting with number 1. The end of Furious 7 was bittersweet with the death of the much-loved actor Paul Walker, who played Brian O'Connor. The story was wrapped up with a sense of satisfaction, or so we thought.
Yeah.
Fast 8 starts with Dom and Letty on their honeymoon.
Yay!
Finally.
Last.
The crew have been exonerated from their involvement in the previous chaos and found a moment for life without the crazy. But cue Charlize Theron, who plays Cypher. Somehow the writers have managed to use all 7 films as a launching platform for a new world. One which we thought was done. Very quickly, though, we find out that it's not by a long way.
2. Character development. If you've seen the previous films, then whether you like it or not, you're probably invested in the characters. So when Cypher starts messing with the cohesion of the group and turns Dom to the dark side, this actually does a great job in making you question, what? Why?
You gonna turn your back on family?
After all they've been through together as a team, how could Dom switch to the dark side so seemingly easily? Well, we'll get to that point later, so keep listening.
Yeah, we could link Dom to the dark side. That'd be great. Number 3, action. One of the things that this franchise is known for is the outrageous stunts. From cars with parachutes to jumping a $3 million car from skyscraper to skyscraper. They have done all manner of ludicrous stunts. And with each film making more and more money, the budget for the stunts just increases and increases. Now, the last 3 film stunts have gone from Mission Impossible to just downright Mission Really Damn Impossible, like for real.
Totally.
Which is what we thought we were going to get with this one. And the stunts are ridiculous in the latest one, without a doubt, but somehow believable at the same time. If you've seen the trailer, then you'll know that there's a submarine and The Rock redirecting a missile on ice with his bare hands.
The Rock.
Maybe it's because they've already established what each character is capable of that this ridiculousness is believable. Well, at least in a blockbuster world where Bond can do what he does, and I don't mean be a womanizer.
No. 4. Getting back to Charlize Theron. Well, she gets a point all on her own, and we may be biased, but we are super proud of this South African who's come a long way since the Bunny Park in Benoni to playing parts like Furiosa in the incredible Mad Max Fury Road film. Charlize brings intensity to her character, Cypher, that is damn well mesmerizing on screen. Cypher is evil, as you will find out, and puts the team through their hardest test yet.
Number 5, fight choreography. Hobbs and Deckard meet up again in brutal fashion. What's different this time around, though, is the fact that each punch and hit is sequenced perfectly and is executed flawlessly. You feel each punch and knuckle crack. Not that the previous films didn't have this, but this time around, the dance is free and fluid.
Number 6. The plethora of actors. With a franchise like this putting in more and more names into the mix, what can happen is that either some of the new character additions or the original crew can be left out to die in the cold. But somehow, even with the return of the full Toretto family and Jason Statham and Charlize Theron and Helen Mirren, who's uncredited, thankfully this is not the case. The reason for this comes down to the next 2 points.
Number 7, the editing, or rather the edit. Often what makes or breaks a film is the pacing and tone of a film, which is all down to the edit. A classic example of this is Transformers Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
There is actually a bit of that film that has a whole few minutes missing. That's like right in the middle. So if they can mess up at that level, then no matter the skill or budget, flow or tone, mistakes can easily be made. The pace of this film, quite frankly, is perfect. From character movement to story development to car explosions. There is never too much or too little of one person or shot or explosion.
Yep. And number 8, the Fate of the Furious story. So, Dom joins the dark side and his family have to deal with his skill and beat the new big bad combination of a Furion and a Furiosa. Amazingly, the trailers don't actually give away the story or even the action. They allude to it, but they don't ruin it like so many trailers do today. So we won't either, no spoilers. But rest assured, there's a good story here.
What took me by surprise was how emotionally engaging I found it. I know. I remember thinking to myself, wait a moment, what's going on right now? Am I just having an emotional day? Because at one point I had to swallow and shake my head with confusion. Somewhere along the line, the film grabbed me. Very subtly, it drew me in, and then BAM! You're rooting for the team. In amongst the explosions with tanks and submarines, beautiful fight scenes and witty one-liners, thanks mostly to Tyrese Gibson, the film got good. I left having to ask myself the question, is it better than the original? Eventually I settled on, it's almost as good as the original. It's T2 to T1. So if I have to give it a rating out of 5, I'd give it a Furion 4.
So, to recap this fuel injector, this installment has everything we've come to expect from this franchise. Yes, plenty of eye candy and pretty automobiles, outlandish stunts and fight scenes, and enough collateral damage to make RoboCop proud. But to really pull it together, it has a decent story, which takes threads from almost all the previous 7 films and creates something coherent, which is hard to do.
It's really hard to do.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us on this review of the Fast and Furious franchise. Let us know what you think of the latest film, and if you liked it, then please, if you like this review, then lick it or like it and subscribe. Have a look at our other movie reviews. We've done Logan and Beauty and the Beast, things like that. We love hearing from you guys and your comments. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yep.
I can't believe Helen Mirren is uncredited.
How is that possible?
He must have just
She's
asked her,
phenomenal.
said, please come and join us. And she's like, oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
She did Red. Was it Red?
Yeah.
She was amazing in that.
Oh yeah, she was.
She can do like live stage performances and Shakespeare and then
Or Assassin.
massive action. She's awesome.
She is awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.